We were very excited when we found it.
Kirk Enterprise.
Scott here, sir.
Prepare to beam over a full security squad on my orders.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Captain, there's no sign of life aboard this vessel.
Odd. Mr. Spock, very odd.
The birth of Star Trek can be credited to one man, Gene Roddenberry. Gene's idea of a Western meets outer space, or a wagon train to the stars, as it was originally coined, was a concept of the future and was ironically a concept way ahead of its time. Each week, viewers tune in to be captivated by tales of far-off galaxies and other life forms on distant planets. The real genius, however, was Gene's dedication and the writer's ability to tackle the social issues of the time.
Excuse me, Captain Kirk.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Scott.
What a charming negress. Oh, forgive me, my dear. I know that in my time, some use that term as a description of property.
But why should I object to that term, sir? You see, in our century, we've learned not to fear words.
I went to Gene Roddenberry and I said, Gene, can I have a few minutes with you? He said, certainly, come in. I said, it won't take much time. I just want to tell you something that I understand. I know what you're doing. And he goes, oh? And I said, yes. You're writing morality plays, and you put it in the 23rd century. And he sat back and he roared. And then he said, shh, they haven't figured that out. And I thought that was the most wonderful thing, because then I realized that these were the adventures and the stories that he wanted to tell of the human condition.
Gene Roddenberry led a life as adventurous as the very characters he's credited for creating. He was a decorated pilot in World War II and even served as a police officer in Los Angeles. He went on to become a successful writer in the booming television era of the 1960s. In 1964, he created the Star Trek pilot The Cage, which was dismissed as being too cerebral for network television. Gene reworked his show, and in 1966, NBC gave Star Trek a second chance, and a legend was born.
The very reason for the existence of our starships is contact with other life. Although the method is beyond our comprehension, we have been offered contact.
Star Trek is, and always has been, the specific vision of Gene Roddenberry, which deals with a very uplifting, positive outlook of the future. In the future, things are going to be better. Racism is going to be gone. War and poverty and disease are going to be gone. It's going to be a time when people can pursue a better quality of life and can pursue exploration, and it's a very hopeful time.
How many others have you done this to? What gives you the right to hand out life and death?
The same right that brought you here. The need to know new things.
We came in peace.
And you may go in peace.
It's all about how to live an ethical existence. And people respond to this, especially young people who are still idealistic, who haven't had to make that many compromises in their lives yet.
You have yet to embrace either patience or logic. You remain impulsive carnivores.
Yeah? How about war? Disease, hunger. Pretty much wiped them out in less than 2 generations. I wouldn't call that small potatoes.
Star Trek always asks you to think, to say, what would you do if you were placed in the same situation?
Everything he came up with back in the 60s was kept alive to the very end.
In 1991, Gene Roddenberry passed away. He did, however, live long enough to enjoy the great success of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and his vision of the future has endured to this day.
As much as I admire George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, I don't know where sci-fi would have been if it hadn't been for Gene Roddenberry and Star Trek.
Roddenberry was a very smart guy, way ahead of his time in terms of understanding human nature. Brilliant.
Gene did the extraordinary thing of creating a philosophical and moral set of, an ethical set of benefits for people.
By putting it in the future, Gene was able to talk about race prejudice, which you otherwise couldn't talk about. He was able to talk about gender prejudices, which you otherwise wouldn't be able to talk about.
Well, a man of great vision, after all, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's self-evident now.
He wanted to say something through those stories, and you know, a lot of popular entertainment doesn't even bother with that. You know, let's just do something glamorous, exciting, beautiful, sexy, whatever. But Gene cared about the content, and that lasted all the way through.
This is not a ship of war. This is a ship of peace.
Well, I would like to think that we did our best to keep his vision of the future alive in all the shows and films that we've done.
Back in the warehouse, the auction specialists continue their search.
Basically, we're here to help with the Akutas in any way we can. The scale of what we have here, I mean, just the crates that we have in this warehouse to go through and make the decision of whether or not they want to put it in the sale. And yeah, I mean, the costumes they have, I mean, there's thousands upon thousands of them.
Okay.
We'll get that down. We'll pull this out and get that bit down for you so you can decide on that.
Okay, my sense is we'll take this piece, but not that, but let's take a look at it.
We'll help with the packing, we'll arrange the shipping. It's a long process, and it goes back to New York, and it gets unpacked again when it reaches New York, and then it gets photographed to get put in the catalogue, and then it gets taken to the sale room and put on display, and then it gets sold. But this initial process will take a couple of months.
I think we're doing well. It's just there's such a large amount to go through. I mean, it's just there's so much stuff. Oh, nice. They use this in the motion picture as well, right?
Yeah, and in Star Trek 6.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Nice.
Klingon battlecruiser.
A Romulan warbird.
Yes, it is. That's an ooh.
Designed by Andy Corbett and built by Greg Jean.
All right. Want me to pull that cloth off?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what it is, Mike?
It's the hero model for Deep Space Nine.
I think we'll take this one.
You like that one?
Yeah, I think it's a good one.
This is an amazing artifact. This is the Hero 6-foot Enterprise from Star Trek The Next Generation.
Nothing we want.
Yes, actually we do.
What is it? Do you need a flashlight?
Yes, we want this.
What is it?
This contains the power supplies and the controls for the Hero 8-foot Enterprise from Star Trek The Motion Picture. This is the Starship Enterprise from several of the Star Trek movies.
There's been very, very few Star Trek models in the auction market, very few that have exchanged hands. So these are really the most iconic models from Star Trek. And having such a wide range of them as well makes sure that all of the fans can have a go at all different levels and all different price levels. So yeah, I certainly expect the Enterprise models to do really, really well. I think the great thing about the Enterprise models is A, their role in Star Trek, but also some of them have been made by Industrial Light and Magic, who also make the models for Star Wars. And to have something made by those model makers is something that is very exciting for collectors.
Obviously, there are ship models which is, you know, a lost art. I mean, they don't use ship models for that stuff anymore. They use CGI. So these ship models are just, details just absolutely gorgeous.
So the fact that we have all these models that have been made over all these years, they're really pretty rare now. I mean, it really is an incredible thing to collect.